Makemo is one of the only places I've been to where the fish do the hull cleaning work for you. Now that I'm tied up to the pier, the water's super shallow underneath my boat and as clear as a swimming pool, and I've discovered this really cool phenomenon. So if you look at the bottom of my keel, you can see all this white stuff, and that is giant lumps of barnacles that I've been ignoring. I realized that when I chip them off, these fish go crazy. It's a feeding frenzy, and it makes cleaning the bottom of my keel so much more exciting that I'm doing it all the time now. Also, what better place to do it than in these beautiful crystal clear waters? Welcome to Hippie Sailing. I am single-handing migrant 27 around the world. I started my trip in Maine with a 10-month overhaul of my boat, solo sailed through the Caribbean, the Panama Canal, 41 days alone across the Pacific, and now I'm floating around in French Polynesia, loving my life and living in the paradisey dream that I've always wanted. On board the Geck, I have no fridge, water maker, fancy electronics, and my dinghy is a rowboat with a sail rig. Currently, my videos lag a couple months behind where I am in real space and time, so if you're interested in seeing what I'm doing in my daily life, check out my Instagram at BoatLizard. I'm joined in my adventures by fellow single-hander Jarne Schmidt. He is from Belgium. He left 2 years ago on his Belgian-built Spirit 32. We met in Panama a little over a year ago, and we've been buddy boating through the Pacific ever since then. If you're just tuning in, check out my previous 3 episodes for more details on Makemo, which is the atoll in French Polynesia where I'm currently hanging out. Otherwise, enjoy this episode! Living on a boat in paradise is usually pretty paradisey, but there's always work to be done. In tropical waters, things grow on the bottom of your boat way more quickly than in colder waters, so it's basically a constant battle below the waterline to keep the barnacles, shells, and soft corals from taking permanent residence on my boat. There has been a large colony of barnacles growing on the bottom of my keel for a while, and I've been putting off cleaning it for various reasons, but now I decided this was the perfect time and place to do the deed. However, while I was underwater, doing some boring barnacle things, there was also exciting times happening above the surface. The atolls and remote islands in French Polynesia are provisioned by cargo ships usually once or twice a week. The smaller the place, the less frequently the cargo ships come in. There are different ones for the Marquesas and the Tuamotus, so the Stella Maris is one of the most frequent ones that comes to the Tuamotus Islands, and we happened to be tied up to the pier right during cargo ship week, which was really close and exciting. These are the tugboats that they used. These ship operations are not what you're used to seeing if you're from the States or from Europe. The ship launches its own tugboats, which in this case are a barge and a panga, and often the locals will come out in their own fishing boats to assist the ship in docking. This barge also serves a double function as a carrier boat for the more remote atolls, where the large ship is not able to come in to provision. So the ship will stand outside the pass, load things with a crane onto the barge, and then the barge goes through the pass and unloads into the village. Makemo has a big enough and deep enough pass and a good enough pier for the container ship to come to the dock by itself and do an impressive amount of cargo. We were a little close for comfort to the bow of the ship, especially Jarne's boat, but we were also able to see the entire cargo operation, and it was busy. Today, one of the supply ships came in to bring supplies to the town. They told us the ships only come in once every 2 weeks, but I think that's just the food ships, because this one just has cars and forklifts and stuff. So they are really close to Jarne's boat, and also it's really interesting. So we're just sitting in the cockpit drinking coffee and watching what's going on. They have a really old crane that doesn't even have hydraulics, it's just pulleys and blocks, and then a little guy crane that you can just boom up and boom down and wire up and wire down. It doesn't have a knuckle or an extending cool to see probably how cargo used to be back in the day before all this fancy technology came about. Right now they're lifting something. It's not very interesting. It's just pallets. That is putting up some sun protection for us so that we can continue to sit here as the day progresses and the sun rises and keep watching this. And now the trucks are starting to show up to bring the cargo somewhere. They have 3 forklifts that they put on the pier, and I think the forklifts are part of the ship and they're using them to move the cargo around. And unfortunately they put a big refrigerator van right in front of our view of all the goings on, so we can't really see what's happening on the ground, but we can see what they're going on and off. So anyway, we're just gonna watch cargo for the morning. Alright, it's pouring rain right now. I feel so bad for the guys doing cargo on this ship, but in good news, just from pulling down the edge of my sunshade and holding this pot under it, in the past rainstorm I filled this much water, and then from the rain catcher on Yarna's boat I just went over and checked it, and this one is full to the brim just from 15 minutes of rain. So I switched it out for another Jerry, and I'll put these in the tank when it stops raining a little bit and then go switch them out again. But I think this means that we are gonna have full tanks pretty soon, which is really exciting. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Unfortunately on my boat, the boom runs down the center of my sunshade, so I can't really collect water on it passively. But if I hold the edges down, the water pours in. So I'm gonna do that now and get some more water. This is exciting. Collecting water makes squalls not terrible.
And it looks way better, the bomb is way fewer.
While I'm doing water, Yarn is looking at Bommy situation in the next atoll that we're going to.
So, while wind hippie sailing, was doing all the water, I was doing some more important or just dry bits. Like checking all the bommies in how, also very important. Check not a lot of bommies. Good job, Yarna.
So what Yarna was doing was looking at a map called Ovitel Maps, and we are eventually trying to work our way back east through the Tuamotus so we can get up to the Marquesas. One of the things we usually do prepping for a trip is to look at satellite images of what the atoll looks like on Ovitel. So I'm just going to show you guys on Yarna's iPad. The atolls are full of coral heads that are uncharted, and as a single-hander you can't have someone on the bow telling you where to turn for coral heads. So this is an app that takes satellite images from Google and Bing, depending what you want to look at, and it also tells you where you are. So this one is Fakarava, which is where I am right now at the time of editing this video. You can zoom in and you can see this is where we are, but then it gives you a really nice image, and you can see now these are all the coral heads that you don't want to hit, and this little blue guy is your boat. This isn't that bad for a place. Some of them have so many that it's almost impossible to navigate single-handed. But another thing you can do, which is really cool, is look at the passes, and this can be nice because the Tuamotus aren't always perfectly on the chart. So this is the South Pass of Fakarava, and you can see how cool the line is, and this is just from the current. After a very productive morning, this ship is finally leaving in pouring rain. You can see they've already put one of their tug pongas on top of the other barge, and now they're just going out back through the pass to the next atoll, and that's kind of just the route they do, little loops back and forth between Tahiti and the Tuamotus. Rain, 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 rain. We are between squalls, and while I'm on a dock, I want to take advantage of the things that I can do. So my anchor chain is really tangled, and I'm going to spool it all out of the front of my boat, put it on the dock, lay it out, and untangle it, which means taking the anchor off and unshackling some shackles. I'm hoping it doesn't rain on me, and this is for getting the chain to the dock, and Yarna's gonna help me. Doesn't know yet. Alright, he said yes. While he's getting himself ready, I'm going to start taking my, I don't know why I put these on, it's cloudy. I'm gonna start taking my shackles off.
Camera man, Yarna in the house.
Oh, here we go.
I thought to say she needs to eat some more spinach, like, what's the guy's name again?
Popeye?
Yes, Popeye. Boys, this is the strongest woman I know. That's why I don't need to fight, because she's gonna whoop your ass.
Now that I have the shackle undone, I'm just going to take the chain off of it. Once the shackle's back on the anchor, I'm taking the clip that I usually put on the bottom of my hang-on jib and clipping it onto the shackle to make sure the anchor doesn't fall into the water while I'm doing the chain business. I tie this line to the end of the chain, give the line to Yarna. So I give Yarna the line that I tied onto the anchor chain so that he doesn't have to carry the whole chain across when he goes from my boat to the pier. He's going to tie his boat on, hop on the pier, and then start pulling the line and the chain over onto the pier. Okay, pause. I'm gonna get this guy off. This one's gonna be a pain too. Alright, I've made the chain, the road line off here. I wasn't getting that shackle undone, so I've just let the road be led to the dock, and then I'll just start untangling it from the road itself. Dun, 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 dun. It's the gondolier ride. Here's my gondolier.
Ja, 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 ja. Capsaicin en een pizza calzone. Nee, ik wil geen.
Alright, here's the pile. And I'm just gonna start laying it out and untangling it. Fun times. First, I'm gonna tie it off so it doesn't all fall in the water. Over time, anchor chain tends to get twisted, and at a certain point, it's not a bad idea to try to get all those twists out. So I figured that while I was next to this really nice long pier, it would be a good opportunity to straighten out my anchor chain and get it all nice and ready for the next time I was going to be ready to anchor. The best way to do this is to kind of lay it out the way you can see me doing here, where you're just going back and forth along the edge of the pier. I did this because cars do drive up and down it. And then you just walk along the length of the chain and slowly straighten everything out and kind of flick it out straight. As long as it's laid out in a nice line, it gets the kinks out pretty well.
This is Holly with her chain. She's a real gangster. She got proper bling. Yeah, she's working hard though. Any words? Almost halfway down.
Are we?
No idea.
Well, this isn't as fun as I thought it would be. But it sure is a job.
Sure is a chain.
3, 2, 1, go! Woo! We're celebrating being finally done with the chain, anchor chain all straight, and ready to go for the next time I anchor. A grand high thank you to everyone who has donated money to my Holly Needs New Solar Panels cause. I want to give you guys an update on what I've been looking at and what I'm able to get here. So first of all, thanks to you guys and all of your generosity, I'm able to buy new panels, new wiring and fittings for the panels, a new solar charge controller, and new batteries. And it's a little bit of a challenge because in French Polynesia they don't have the type of panels that I'm looking for. So my boat doesn't have the infrastructure to put any panels permanently on. I'd have to have some serious stainless welding work done, and I just can't get it done where I am. So my best option is to buy a folding panel that I can lay out on the deck and position it wherever it needs to be throughout the day. Because honestly, even if I was somewhere where I could get all this stainless welding done, my boat's just so little that it's really hard to fit something that big that permanently on it without really compromising my profile, you know? I thought I was going to order the panels from France because there's a connection between France and Tahiti, but just today, which today is Saturday, so 2 days before this video gets posted, the French Polynesia just opened the border to the US, so I think if I order these panels off a US site, they might be able to get put on a plane and flown here, and that would be a lot faster than ordering them from Europe. So this is what I'm looking at. This is on a European website, but I'm sure I can find an equivalent in the States. So this type of panel, it folds in half, and they're not the flexible kind because those ones don't have as long of a lifespan, but it makes it easier to store them, and the panels fold together so that it's also safer to store them. And then, so this is a complete panel set, but the charge controller I want to get is a Victron smart controller. It actually hooks up to your smartphone over Bluetooth, and you're able to monitor your battery health and what's going in, what's coming out. It helps you take care of your batteries a lot more easily. And my batteries are a little bit dunzos. I had a friend help them a little bit with his battery charger, and I think they'll be able to limp on until I can get new ones. But there is a guy in Tahiti who sells Victron deep cycle batteries, so I'm just gonna buy 2 of those from him and not install them until I have my new solar array up and going. Otherwise, I'll just hurt them again with not enough solar. So that's my update. I'll let you guys know the next week if I was able to order things, and I just want to check that if I order something it'll actually arrive, because there's still very limited flights coming into Tahiti. And thank you guys for all of your help on that front. Also, thank you for watching this week's video. I'm showing you this video of a cool flatfish because you've been staring at my face long enough for a second. Thank you for all your lovely comments. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me and making my trip possible. Thanks Tish for putting these videos on YouTube from Dropbox for me. I think that's everything. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks and hopefully have some more updates for you about my solar panels.